Hi everyone, and welcome to Training Tuesday for Tuesday, December 28th, 2021. This episode's going to be just a little different, and there will be some snake training involved, but it's going to tell a story. It's going to tell a story about something that happened this week with my rainbow boa, Rowena. She is a almost 4-year-old Brazilian rainbow boa, Epicrates cenchria. And it was the middle of the day, and she was in that hide that you see her coming out of. And I thought this would be a good time to change her water, clean her water dish, and refresh it. Her water dish goes right in the center of her enclosure there. And I thought that because she was presumably resting as she does most days and asleep inside her hide, and I thought I could change out her water without disturbing her. And I took the water dish away, and when I came back, I found her coming out of her hide and starting to come out the door. And that was unusual, but it pleased me. So I rolled up the activity station to her enclosure, and I gave her the opportunity to continue coming out, which is what you were seeing as I was giving you the little background history of how we got to this point, where I am now target training her, or we're practicing her target training. She's been target trained for a while, and sometimes she responds very well to it, and sometimes she barely moves at all and just sees the target as a signal that she's going to eat. I'm trying to get her to understand that the target and responding to the target by performing some type of behavior will earn her reinforcement. And since she was already starting to come out on her own, I thought I would do a training session. It had been almost 3 weeks since she'd eaten, so 20 days since she had eaten. I had written on the calendar that the day after this would have been 3 weeks. And I feed them every 2 to 4 weeks, and that's totally based on their behavior, the size of their last meal, all of the factors that I go over in my behavior-based feeding videos. But they don't eat weekly. They typically eat every 2 to 4 weeks, and on average, I would say every 3 weeks. So this was 20 days, so it was perfectly fine to feed her a meal. And when I rolled the activity station up, she continued to come towards it. And then I got something thought out for her to eat, and I got the training equipment. All that took a little bit of time. And then I re-engaged with her, and that's what I'm asking her to do now, is to continue coming out and to follow the target all of the way out of her enclosure and onto the activity station. I think that's a good behavior for her to learn. It's a behavior that I try to teach all the snakes because it makes enclosure maintenance and cleaning so much easier if they choose to voluntarily come out on their own and exercise, whether food's involved or not, or if they come out when cued by the target. Now you can see that she is taking her time here, and that is one thing I've noticed about boas. They typically don't do anything fast. I know they can move fast. I have seen them move fast, but typically they're very, very cautious and they're very, very slow. And that's exactly what you're seeing here. She's almost got her head over the edge of the stand, and that was my goal. So the approximations that I had in my mind, and she initiated this behavior, keep that in mind. I didn't plan to do this today. She initiated this. So once she started it, I planned to just get her to come out onto this level of the station and dip her head over the other side. So once she did that, even though it took her a very long time, I reinforced her for that. And hopefully the next time that we do this activity, she will remember this and it will not take her quite so long. I also noticed some interesting behavior around how rainbow boas eat, at least the Brazilian rainbow boas. My Colombian rainbow boas do not move this slowly and do not eat in this manner, but the Brazilian rainbow boas seem to grab onto the prey item extremely hard and fast, and sometimes biting so hard that they puncture it and they make a little bit of a mess of wherever they're eating. But then after wrapping it for a few seconds and coiling it for a few seconds, they'll let go with their mouth and continue to wrap the prey. And then they'll nose it all over. They will push their nose all around the prey item and sometimes even drop it and nose around the prey item and then pick it back up again and eventually eat it. And both of my Brazilian rainbow boas, I have two, a male and a female, both of them eat in that manner, which I find interesting, and they do it every time. And that's quite a bit different than a lot of the other snakes that either just grab onto it and start swallowing right away, like the false water cobra or the corn snakes or some of the colubrids, or who grab onto it, coil it, and then start eating, but never let go of it, like many of the pythons. So after she finished eating, I just left her on the stand to do whatever she wanted. And she ended up climbing around just the level of the stand she was on and a little bit underneath it for a few minutes. And then she ended up putting herself away. This is just a little bit of footage of her exploring the station for just a few minutes after she was done eating. She did end up climbing back up to the level she started on, which I was very happy about because I wondered how I would handle it if she stayed on that lower level or if she started to go to the floor, because I didn't really want to do anything to upset this session or cause her any distress. Everything was going so smoothly and going so well. And all of this was just totally voluntary. All of this had just been her choice to engage in all of these activities from the beginning. And so I didn't want to have to intervene if I didn't have to. So I was just very patient. I didn't have an appointment or anywhere I needed to be. I didn't have any meetings. So I just let her be, and I stood a few feet away and watched her. I had the camera running most of the time. I cut out a lot of footage because this probably took about 45 minutes to an hour of time. And then she eventually just decided she was ready to go back, and she put herself away. And I did not intervene at all in this whole process other than to feed her. And I always do targeting when I feed, whether I make it very, very simple and just pair the target with food, or whether I ask for the snakes to do a behavior. I never feed without the target. And sometimes I feed in the enclosure and sometimes I feed out. So in this case, she already was coming out, and I just took advantage of that to do a target training session while she was out. If she had not been due to eat, I would have just left her be with the activity station, and she could have chosen to engage with the activity station for as long as I was able to watch her or not, and then she could have put herself away when she was ready. But since it had been 20 days since she had eaten, I wanted to go ahead and reinforce this behavior that she was offering me by doing a little bit of a training session and giving her some food as reinforcement. And I couldn't have asked for this day to have gone any better, although it wasn't planned and I wasn't expecting it. She offered some behavior, and I took advantage of that as an opportunity to work with her a little bit, and it went very, very well.